Hello, this is Anthony. Let's walk and talk. So today I am in downtown, historic downtown, exploring, uh, trying to really just take in the culture. And as I'm down here, it's this whole journey has dawned on me that to talk about what is the difference between a grateful person and an ungrateful person. And most people probably will listen to this and they'll say, well, that's obvious. A grateful person is this and an ungrateful person is that. But the more I ponder that thought, that distinction, and that comparison, the more for me it brings up a lot of different answers. In fact, some answers that I think some people probably wouldn't even imagine. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. We're going to talk about what I would say is some of the factors of a grateful person versus an ungrateful person. You see, we can start off and we can go to what everyone's going to say. A grateful person is someone who appreciates the things he has and his friends and his family and his life. Someone who has gratitude for all those things, has gratitude and acceptance and appreciation for all those things. And that would be a good answer, and that would be a true answer. However, I think, as I'm on this journey, I'm beginning to recognize some different themes in this. And you're probably thinking, oh, what themes are we talking about this day? Well, here are the things we're talking about. You see, you can be a positive person and be grateful, and you can be a positive person and be ungrateful. You can be a negative person and be grateful, and you can be a negative person and be ungrateful. I'll let the moto taxi drive by. But to me, the more I understand my journey and I understand this life, the term grateful means so much more than for the things I have, the items that I have, like the friendships and relationships and experiences. Of course, I'm grateful for all those things. But I'm also grateful for all the things that you wouldn't necessarily imagine would be something that people would be grateful for. For instance, I'm going to give you an example. I'm grateful for all of the experiences that I have, positive and negative. You see, on this journey, I have certainly been shown both aspects. I've certainly been shown the aspects of unconditional love and positivity, and I've also been shown that converse to that, as most people are. However, I think things that I find myself grateful for over on top of that is I'm grateful. I'm very much grateful for the space of being able to distinguish how these lessons appear, how I allow these lessons to affect me, and how I choose to learn, grow, and evolve from these lessons. I'm going to give you an example. When things happen in life, they happen for purpose. I truly believe that they always happen for purpose. And in that desire to grow and learn, these purposes are always catalysts, and these catalysts are always meant for you to reach your highest and best version of self. And most people are sometimes grateful when they get past the lesson and they move on to the importance and the values that they've gained, the wisdom that they've gained from those lessons, and then they move on and prepare for the next lesson. For me, I am grateful for the lessons even as I'm going through them, because I begin, as I go through these lessons, I begin to understand self greater. I begin to understand self deeper. I begin to understand the things that I'm still working on my journey in terms of healing. I begin to understand the programming that is me, and that programming that I appreciate and love, as well as that programming that I see and I understand needs to be reprogrammed. You see, when you start to gain that space of understanding to, I think what I want to say is when you start to get to that space where, like most people, when they start a journey, what they do is they are looking and projecting themselves forward to the destination. And there's nothing wrong with that. However, like I recognize on this journey, and I hear all the time how people say, oh, my life has moved by so fast. Life is speeding up almost. And you see that, I guess the experience that I have had for self is that life isn't actually speeding up. For me, life is actually slowing down. And I think that the reason for the difference in that is because when I'm on this journey, I am not looking to reach a destination. In fact, I constantly look at myself. I constantly wake up and remind myself that I'm on a journey and I'm just living life. There is no active destination I'm trying to reach. Every day is a new experience and adventure in and of itself. And for me, that value is that instead of, existing in a space where I think for a long time after spiritual awakening, you go through different stages. One of those stages is the void. I think I've began to understand the void better. You see, in the void, it's almost like you're waiting for something. You're waiting for instructions, but sometimes the journey isn't waiting for the instructions. Sometimes the journey is just moving forward. In some ways, it's the keep calm, and I think it's keep calm and chive on comment from the English culture. And I think for me, being in this space where I am, I felt like for a long time I might be in the void, but then I recognized as I started this journey, I really actually wasn't in the void. I was actually fulfilling my purpose, and my purpose was to understand the moment better, to understand self better, to understand interpersonal relationships better. I had taken that journey of self-discovery. I had mastered those things within self. And then when you start to try to master the interpersonal relationships, they also bring up things in self that continue to need to be mastered. You begin to understand that your external world is your internal world, and relationships, interpersonal relationships, can reflect back to you in many ways and many times exactly what your life looks like internally. And when you begin to embody and embrace that, you begin to see that if I'm feeling chaos in my life, part of that chaos is being mirrored back to me. If I'm feeling peace, that peace is being mirrored back to me. If I'm feeling conflict, well, guess what? You guessed it. That conflict might reside inside of me. I'm also starting to understand and learn more about the human body and how, I have learned and understood that the human body is energy, and in that energy, when you go through traumas, that trauma gets trapped inside of the body and needs to be released. And so I'm starting to understand on my journey about how traumas that I have released, sometimes some of them are still trapped in the human body, in my body, and they begin to show themselves in really kind of different and strange ways. And trying to learn now for me on this journey how to be conscious of those things evolve those things, and release that energy to overcome that, if that makes sense. So, I am grateful for all these things. Yeah, I know you're going to ask, you're like, how does this have to do with gratefulness? I'm grateful for all the things. Okay, I'm not just grateful for the destination I'm going to get to. I'm grateful for this whole journey. I'm not thinking about the future. I'm thinking about where I am. I look at all of the challenges that I've had, and instead of worrying about the challenges, I've chosen now to start to take those challenges more, for lack of a better word, head on. Not in a aggressive or attacking manner, but in a manner to start to communicate and make my wishes known, make my desires known, and let the universe know what I want. And I'm grateful for every ounce of it. I know there's a destination out there. I don't know when or where or how the destination is going to be achieved. I just know that every step I take on the 1,000-mile journey is one step closer. And every step I take on that 1,000-mile journey, I'm grateful for. Because when you consider life to be this beautiful mural or this beautiful tapestry of all these moments strung together, you begin to understand that every single one has purpose, every single one has meaning, every single one is meant to help you to grow and evolve. And when you start to appear in your own existence from a perspective of understanding that and being grateful for that in every moment, you realize that the difference between a grateful person and an ungrateful person is a little more nuanced than it might sound. But what say you? How do you feel about that? Do you think that for you is being grateful and ungrateful very cut and dry, or do you understand the nuance that I'm discussing in this? As always, if you enjoy this content, please like, share, and subscribe. I'm truly grateful. Until I talk to you again, peace, love, light. I hope you have the most amazing day.